All right, welcome everybody to this episode of O365Eh, and we're going to do a year in review for 2022. Then we'll end it with what we're looking forward to in the coming new year. But we thought it was a good year to do a year in review. Microsoft Teams, as you know, which we specialize in this podcast, released a whole bunch of features at a rapid pace, and also some M365 functionality that plays with Microsoft Teams. So we wanted to recap not just what was released, but what we see in the field is being used the most. And with that, Habib, I'll kick it over to you to talk about a few things in your radar this year.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. So obviously with a lot of organizations have been working on their return to work strategy or hybrid model. I think that's a big importance of some of the feature set that were announced this past year and sort of coming in the next year. So one of the ones we're talking about is Microsoft Places. It's a new app that Microsoft announced, I believe, at Ignite. Essentially, that will provide a dashboard for employees to see where the rest of their colleagues are over a month, let's say. Be able to see whether they're hybrid or in the office or remote. You'd be able to book locations or spot however many times throughout the week, so you're guaranteed sort of that desk when you go into the office. Other additional things like wayfinding and navigation. So, being able to add your map of your organization in your floor plan and using your telephone to be able to get you to the location in the event that, it's a new location or office space that you're not accustomed to. And a lot of organizations have gone into this workspace 2.0, if you want to call it, with, it's more hoteling type functionality as opposed to, dedicated desks. And then the next thing is obviously with that, you need to be able to, with other tools, that Microsoft have, be able to provide that availability of where I am. So in Outlook, I think that's going to be a huge feature set. So you'd be able to set, when you're going to be in the office in Outlook. So you can say like, oh, I'm going to be in the office on these days or remote on these days. And one thing I think that's going to be really beneficial as well is just to be able to target the meeting scheduler and let them know during your RSVP whether you're going to be hybrid or remote. So this way they'll have a better understanding of what not hybrid but in the office or remote, and they'll have a better understanding of who's going to be there, who's not. Maybe they can adjust the room size depending on the meeting as well. And then with that, talk about meeting spaces. So I know that a lot of organizations are, sort of redoing their meeting spaces. And I think they're, the main thing, before it was, you'd have just like the table in the center of the room and the camera up front. But I think they're more in the designing of these rooms to have a good experience for the remote users. It's not really, building a better experiences for those that are in the room. It's actually building a better experience for those that are actually calling in or joining the meeting externally. So you'll probably see a lot of those U-shaped, tables with these screens up there so that everybody can be seen visually on the screen, during the meeting itself. So those are the few different items that, I'm looking forward to from the hybrid side of things. And I'll pass it over to Michael to give us a talk about some devices.
Yeah, going along on the hybrid theme, I've been working with a lot of organizations that are trying to restructure how they were doing things, kind of post-pandemic. So, things like large town hall events. Now that it's not like a one-to-many type session where, live events was a kind of a perfect fit there. They're coming into into different offices, and now they have that hybrid experience where they have, presenters and attendees in the same space. And live events doesn't really fit in that mold. So, they're starting to use more features that are out in Teams meetings, things like spotlighting, PowerPoint Live and Cameo, being able to predefine the camera feed into the PowerPoint slides and stuff like that. So we're seeing new ways of using the technology that has been released this year. On the certified devices front, a lot of devices have been added to the list. We have devices from Neat, we have Cisco in the mix now, we have new devices from Logitech, Poly, Crestron, Sony. On the AV side for kind of the traditional AV vendors for in-ceiling microphones and microphone arrays and stuff like that. So we're seeing a lot of devices certified to kind of make these experiences, like Hav was mentioning before, kind of optimized regardless what that space looks like. I think one of the biggest changes was on the licensing side for meeting rooms. So this was the Microsoft Teams Room Pro, so the kind of deprecation of the standard and premium licensing and getting the premium features kind of to everyone. So the features of that Microsoft Teams portal, or the premium, or sorry, the Pro portal, from a management point of view, we get to now get insights on best practices. Did you change the default password? Are you running drivers that are out of sync? Being able to have your own update ring. So really manage these devices in a better way with the kind of the premium features on now in Pro. On the voice side, we have the SIT gateway having support for like DECT, so the wireless handsets. We have now ATA support that's in preview, and then coming into next year, paging. So we're seeing kind of that enhancement kind of across the board for devices. With that, maybe I'll throw it to Kurt.
Yeah, well, Michael, you mentioned a couple of premium features. One of the big announcements that was recently made, that's in preview right now, but it's coming February of 2023, is a new premium Microsoft Teams offering called Microsoft Teams Premium. And it'll be a per user add-on license. And really this lights up a lot of capabilities for meetings, almost exclusively for meetings. Some of the big features here are meeting guides, which can be controlled and managed by your IT department. And it helps users set up the right type of meeting. So think of them as like meeting templates, and it'll set up all the meeting options for the type of meeting that the user wants. You'll be able to customize the meeting branding. So the lobby, and you can even create custom backgrounds and together modes for your employees based on the branding for your organization. And a bunch of other features which are powered with artificial intelligence. So with the premium license, you'll be able to get intelligent recaps on meetings. And some of the things that does is it'll use AI to basically generate actions and owners for those actions that it hears in the meeting. And you'll get a smarter recap of the meeting. You'll get chapters, you'll get markers for when a person's name was mentioned, which just makes it easier to consume the meeting after it's been recorded. And live translations. Right now, you can choose a live translation for a meeting, but you can't do it in the native language for different participants. So with the premium license, you'll be able to choose from 40 different spoken languages, so meeting participants can read captions in their own languages. That's pretty significant for inclusive meetings. There's a slew of capabilities around keeping your meetings more confidential. As we know, with some meetings, there's sensitive information that's shown on the screen or discussed. So you'll get the ability to do things like watermarking the meeting, which will help deter leaks and limiting the ability who can record the meeting. You'll be able to use sensitivity labels to help protect some of that meeting leakage by controlling some of the meeting features like recording based on the sensitivity label assigned to it. There's another slew of features that this premium license lights up around virtual appointments. So if that's a feature set you use, you'll get a couple new capabilities in terms of managing that end-to-end virtual appointment experience. So another big thing that was on my radar working for a software ISV in the Microsoft Teams ecosystem is chargeable APIs. And to date, Microsoft really hasn't done much in terms of charging for the use of APIs. All that changed in July of this year when Microsoft introduced a pay-as-you-go consumption-based API for Microsoft Teams export. and that was to export the private chats in a Microsoft Teams tenant. And that really impacted ISVs that did backups or migrations that required pulling a lot of data from the Teams tenant. And this was sort of a purview of what was to come in terms of the Microsoft 365 API space, because they sort of used the Teams export API charge model to gauge the reaction and get some experience on their plans to do this in other M365 APIs. And recently, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, they clarified how they plan to charge for that API usage. And they'll essentially have 3 different tiers. One is the standard tier, where that's the regular graph-based usage with the APIs that are used typically to access the M365 services in your tenant. Those will likely not be charged. They're like sort of a standard free tier. But when you have higher capacity requirements, like the Teams export, which private chats in a tenant can be hundreds of thousands or millions, there'll be a second tier called high capacity, and that'll be a pay-as-you-go model, much like the Teams export API. And you can think of scenarios like streaming data out for M365 backups or a migration scenario. The third tier discussed in this model is advanced APIs. So these are APIs that deliver new functionality. For example, the Azure Communication Services is an example that allows API or developers to develop advanced functionalities around communication options. So it's very interesting how this is unfolding, and not the most exciting topic in the world, but it's really going to impact what you can do with your tenant at scale. And it'll also impact potentially costs for doing advanced type functionality. So that'll be really interesting to see how this unfolds in 2023. And we're just, we got a good taste of it in 2022. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dino to talk about some features on his radar this year.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. So continuing on the calling theme, Microsoft made a few key announcements this year. Specifically in the Teams app, they introduced CRM integration into the calling app. So you can now, on an inbound call, configure the Teams backend to just pop a web browser. So you can put the URL to the API for your CRM application, and on an inbound call, it'll pass that phone number to your CRM app, and it, you can customize the popping of information. Maybe you'll pull some customer info data. So that's kind of great and kind of cool, because if you don't need to go to a full-blown contact center solution to get that type of functionality. You can get real value driven right out of the native app. Analog device support was announced. This was something long awaited by many organizations that had analog devices. So you can now support these devices through Teams, namely AudioCodes, Cisco, and Poly have announced support for analog devices. All the Media Pack series ATAs on the AudioCode side, the Cisco 191 and 192 series ATAs, and the Poly OBI 300 and 301 ATAs are supported. So configuration is fairly straightforward, and you can literally connect any analog device, acquire a Team shared device license, and you're making and receiving calls on analog devices through Teams. So that's pretty cool as well. We have detailed calling history was released in the calling app as well. You get a more comprehensive view of where the call came from, whether it was transferred to you or forwarded to you. So there's a little bit more detail that's shown in the client, which is nice. So you get a bit more of a sense of how that call got to you in the first place. Also, the ability to create contact groups in the calling app. So this is where you can build out a group of users that you might want to ring, and you can do that. Before, you had to kind of go deep into the settings to find that call group setup, but you can do it right in the calling app as well. Lastly, in the Operator Connect space, we've had the Operator Connect program out for since 2021, but we now have Operator Connect Mobile, recently renamed Teams Phone Mobile. So this is where you can consolidate all your phone numbers into a single carrier. So if the carrier of choice you pick, rather than have to deal with deploying users' DIDs through Teams and then also acquiring another DID for their mobile carrier, you can consolidate them. So an organization of 10,000 users, instead of having 20,000 DIDs, you could just have 10,000. You don't have to worry about dealing with a separate DID on a mobile device level and on a Teams level. So your Operator Connect Mobile or Teams Phone Mobile deals with consolidating those and kind of deciding the best path to ring you via Teams, via your mobile, depending on what network is better suited to take that call. So that's pretty exciting. Also, with Operator Connect, the Accelerator program was announced, and that just allows for more carriers. There's currently 45 operators listed in the Operator Connect program, and the Accelerator program is actually accelerating that increase of carriers in that space, because there's other carriers that kind of championing the process to onboard other carriers to make it, instead of 12 to 24 months, they can literally do it in a month's time. So that's pretty special to see. Shifting away from calling, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about shared channels. This was something that's been in the works for a long time, and many organizations and users have been asking for something like this. And this is just the ability to allow membership to a team, for outside teams and organizations. So unlike a private channel, which is users have to be a subset of the main channel that they belong to, shared channels can have membership from anyone in your organization and also anyone outside your organization. So it's kind of neat to think about. Now you can have shared channels set up when two completely separate tenants and organizations can be collaborating together. Of course, you need to set up and worry about B2B direct connect in the cross-tenant access settings. So I'm not seeing a huge amount of adoption with this feature yet. I thought it would be. I've got a couple customers that have dipping their toes in the water with it. And I think it's likely due to the fact that a lot of them aren't sure how to do the B2B direct connect because it's turned off by default. So you do have to set that up before it starts to work. So that caps off my year in review. I think we're talking about what we're looking forward to. Am I kicking that off?
So that was quite a year, 2022. A lot of massive feature delivery right across M365 and Teams. What are you guys looking forward to in 2023?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, from my perspective, just a couple of things on like the product side. Hoping that get some additional security enhancements to Microsoft Stream and Microsoft Teams share channels. I think that'll be good from that perspective, and I'd like to see what the deployment and use cases for Microsoft Mesh will be when it gets rolled out publicly. And then personally, looking forward to more in-person conferences. Looking forward to seeing Dino and Michael. Saw Kurt earlier this year, which was great, and looking forward to working on this podcast together and for our 5th year.
Woohoo! I would echo majority of that sentiment as well. In-person conferences for sure. Hoping to get on the speaking ring again. I think Comms V Next is one of the ones that we're throwing our hat into. I think we've seen a lot of things come out from Microsoft around the contact center platform and enhancements around kind of advanced call routing on call queues and auto tenants. So I'm hoping to see more features coming in and kind of reducing the gap between like a full-blown contact center and what's kind of natively within Microsoft Teams. So it's kind of what I'm hoping for 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to more Teams voice. I think what was the announcement? It's 12 million PSTN users on Teams earlier. I'm sure that number has grown since then. Operator Connect Mobile. I think I'm certainly seeing a big upswing in that. So I'm knee deep in lots of voice deployment work. So looking forward to continuing that, and yeah, and also seeing some faces I haven't seen in a couple of years. So hopefully we can all get together soon.
Yeah, likewise. Hey, I was just trying to think the last time all four of us have been physically in the same room. It's been, I can't remember the last time.
Ignite before the pandemic, yeah.
Orlando,
2019.
2019.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, probably for me, boring subject, but those APIs, that's I really hope Microsoft thinks through the model correctly and the impact, not just on ISVs, but the whole ecosystem. I think they're doing that, but it'll be really interesting to see the model they settle on and how it impacts everything. Teams Premium interests me too, the investments in specifically the AI investments in the meetings. I don't know about you guys, but I'm watching more meeting recordings than I ever have, just trying to catch up with various subjects. And if I can skip ahead, see when someone's name's mentioned, get an action item assigned to me automatically, and have a follow-up workflow, that should be interesting and just help everyone's productivity. So a couple of things I'm looking forward to. But with that, it's been another fantastic year on the O365 podcast front. Thank you guys, and we'll see you all in 2023.
Yeah.
Thank you.